so I finally motivated myself to start and drew the first card. It's a pair of 4s. The Americans get the first action. I honestly can't think of anything they want to do. I would bank actions if I could, but I rectified my setup. And it's more or less what I want, and I need to react to British moves to be able to do anything of interest. I guess I could cannonade. I didn't check the line of sight rules, but I think I'm allowed to fire over even infantry units that are lower. I don't recall well enough. But it would be at long range, and I'm going to have more opportunities to do that, I think. So it doesn't make a lot of sense. Now, one advantage to cannonading versus doing volley fires is the cannonading doesn't cost me any ammo. So I think I'm just going to pass that first action. I just can't see plinking off a shot. Sniping has to be next to Charlestown. There's just really not much else available at this point. I'm in a defensive position. It seems a little strange, and it definitely looks like a disadvantage. This is a fairly high-valued card, so the Brits are going to get a number of actions. A low-valued card would have been cooler, I think, in order to drag things out and bring the reinforcements in more quickly or whatever. I want to get the city on fire. I can only put 1 fire per turn maximum, but I'm going to shoot both the battery and the ships. In part because there aren't that many reinforcements coming in right away. Eventually I'd like to get up to wherever it is I can hit Charleston Neck off the Charles River, I think, in order to be able to bombard there. But right now I think I want to take my shot. Now, I can pick any place I like in the city, basically. Now, I'm trying to remember the snipe action. Again, I can't use the player aid, and I've gotten into a discussion, I don't remember, but the designer and developer have, engaged in discussion, which is a great thing over on Board Game Geek. In order to defend against some of the claims I made, and also to appreciate, and point out some things that they agreed with as well. But one of the things we went into was the player aid containing so much information, but not all of the information you need. So, for example, the cannonade action has quite a bit of information on it, but it doesn't cover the bombardments. And it doesn't say, look in the rules for the bombardments, or anything like that. Yes, if you remember, you can bombard. Looking at the player aid would, indicate this, but maybe that's left your mind. I would rather have it list the things I can do, take up a lot less space, and send me into the rules than give me something that doesn't actually capture all of the rules that I need. It should capture them all at kind of the same level, as opposed to trimming some away completely in order to go into too much detail on others. Is it a minor point? Well, when you're first approaching the game, it may be a serious problem if you think the player aid, because it looks so complete, is. And it probably is a problem unless you play it regularly, to tell you the truth, that sometimes things will leave your mind temporarily. So why do I want to look up snipe? I want to look up snipe Yeah. It has to be a region that's not on fire. Now, I don't particularly mind lighting the areas up there on fire. So I'm going to try for this region. And I've got 2 dice. If either one is a 4 or higher, I've set the area on fire. I could split the fire, but I can only hit one region in a turn. And I think this is the most interesting region. So I missed. Terrible. And I always got to remember to spend my point. Patriots pass again. Do I want to move my boat into the Charles River so that it's set up to fire if things move into Charleston Neck? Well, let's take a look at the movement rules. I'm able to move up to 3 regions. I don't know how I'd get stuck in Charleston Neck. I remember there being special bonuses for shooting things there, but I don't know. I mean, there's no opportunity fire or anything. I may have forgotten something, but I don't know how you'd end up getting targets that are there. Routing units, obviously. So I don't think I'm going to move my boat, which means I start moving land units, I guess. To move up to 3 regions. This is important at the end of the game, but I don't need to occupy it yet particularly. What I'm going to do is I'm going to activate this space. It's got the most troops. And I need to clear it out because each space can only hold 3. And I'm already full there. I've got the limitation that allows me to move out, which is at least 1 piece. So let's go 1, 2, 3. Now the danger here is that just moved me. I can only move 2 spaces, right? No, 3 spaces. That just moved me within range of 2 continental forces, but we'll let them shoot at me if they want, and they probably do want. I've got to think about this quite a bit because there's the ammo restriction. Every time I use up ammo, and this is the whites of your eyes roll, right? If I don't let the Brits assault, then maybe I'm shooting at worse odds than I would otherwise. So a firing unit hits on 5s or 6s at adjacent regions. But if an assault happens, there are multiple rounds which I get for 1 ammo. Yeah, the first fire costs me a full ammo, just like the volley fire does. But multiple rounds I get for 1 ammo. So I think in order to save ammo, I'm gonna cannonade. Let me look up the line of sight and make sure these guys do not interfere. Because if I go from center to center, maybe they do. Kind of hard to. I mean, it cuts off a corner there. I'm gonna say no, but we'll look at it. And I knew I had to look at it eventually. So I use my last action because I'm gonna spend 1 on reserve. Drop a fired marker on this cannon. Take a look. Let's not look there. It's not gonna help me. A cannonade. It may not cover everything. And I need a 5 or a 6, and I get 2 dice because I believe the unit has 2 fire points to begin with. And I got 1 hit, which is pretty easy. There's a lot of consideration there. That puts it back on the Brits. I could land troops, keep flooding units into here. I think that's probably a good idea. That gets a moved marker there. No reason to bring the cannon in, it just takes up space. And that drops us down. Americans take this. Do we have something else we want to do? Well, I feel like I want to stage more of my troops forward. I think that's important. So I'm actually going to take a move action. 1, 2, 3, move them here. That ends the turn, and we go to turn 2. Yay. So, the next card came up. That's even bigger. I'm assuming most of the cards are kind of higher. I didn't really look. This is what's not in there. Looks like a lot of mid-range cards were taken out. So there are some fairly low ones left, I think. I don't remember the distribution. Anyway. Maybe those are the low ones. This time the Brits have to go first. And it's getting kind of tricky for me because I can't run gauge to here and then keep going into here to rally this unit. I'm going to have to actually expend an action to get to those units that are kind of broken by that little bit of artillery fire. Do I want to move gauge first? Nah. I need to get my bombardment going. There aren't a lot of guys coming in, so I see no real opportunity to be shooting at Charleston Neck as things are coming in. I can't remember there being a rule. I remember there being a rule talking about shooting at Charleston Neck was easier, but I don't remember one about having to stop there. Maybe the muster box. That would be where it would be. Yeah, I gotta make a courage check as I'm entering if the boats are in the Charles River. Now, unfortunately, being in the Charles River means I can't bombard, but I could slow those reinforcements. So I think that's what I'm gonna do as my first move, is actually move the ship. I could have used this last time, but and that pretty much keeps the colonials from marching down this coast. If we take a look from here, I can hit up here, so they'd be coming in 1. I think this is road, not area boundary. 2, they could slip out into the staging area. Now the danger with the staging area is if the boat was over there, it could really do damage, but I only have 1 ship, so we're going to force those panic checks and try to slow the reinforcements down. What did Americans want to do? Passing sounds good. Do I have to pass? Not necessarily, but I don't really want to spend my shot right now. I don't know if I'm going to get a better shot. Yeah, let's do our shot now. So that's 2 dice, 5s or 6s. Just try to break as many of the Brits as we can. And destroying is probably not a good idea. So oh well, and actually I don't think it can be done on a cannonade. So remove that. We're back to the Brits. I don't want to do my my cannonade because, hey, maybe he'll walk out where he can be shot. Actually, he can be shot. I can hit him up on Breed's Hill. All right. And can I hit? Let's see. Right? Yeah, because these are in white. I could hit not this space, which is over here. So I can only hit him up on the top. But yeah, we might as well do the firing then. Do this one first. It would normally hit on, gosh, I don't remember. Is that kind of stuff on the board anywhere? It's probably in there. This is a bombard, not a cannonade. Sorry. Is bombard even on here? Is that why I don't see it? Ah, bombard isn't even on here. That's why. So cannonade may be complete. When targeting units, 2 dice are rolled, each scoring on a 6. Not great, but terrain doesn't affect it. Maybe I should go up to the top of Breed's Hill then. Why don't we hit the top unit? Okay, we did not get a hit there. And now we'll try, I should be using red dice for the Brits. We'll try to set that space on fire again. And we fail again. This is kind of bad because we kind of want to set things on fire. I thought it only said on the Charleston Peninsula. I think I could have actually tried to set it on fire. In lieu of targeting, hot shot may be chosen. Now somewhere it says when you can do it, right? I thought it said only in Boston Harbor, but it looks like Charles River can shoot into there, so I'm assuming I can use the hot shot. Okay. I should have a fired marker on that cannon. All right, well, we'll try to move these guys. They get to make their check. And that's the kind of rule that I don't remember. Like, I don't remember having seen that. Maybe I didn't speak it to you, which means I mean, I remember seeing it at one point, but I don't remember speaking it. Add the combat result, okay. This means that we're going to have to pull the militia markers for these, and they're all moving. All right. So the red die will be the 0 strength militia. The others have a 1 added to them. I believe the 1 and the 0 end up making it. This guy does not. These can go away to the panic pile. And these guys come in 1, 2. Might as well go to the staging area because the boats aren't anywhere near there. And that should have moved this down. Keep thinking. I don't know. I guess I'll move gauge forward. Do I just move gauge? That's the question, because then he can rally these guys. I think I need to do that, even though I want to get guys into the staging area. But what I can do in that case is take this force 1, 2. Three. Get him in there and try to remember that I have a leader there. With everything covered with moved markers, it's hard to tell where the leaders are and where they ain't. What now? I mean, I just really don't feel like I have all that much I need to do. Might want to shift some forces because it looks like he's starting to put stuff on the side here. So I'm going to move that. We want to land more stuff. Now I'm kind of running out of things I want to do. Again, I could volley fire, but breaking more Brits doesn't sound terribly useful, so I'm going to take a pass action and bake some more reserve into play. Already moved. I am going to spend a rally action with the Brits. I can only rally one of these in this game with Brits, if I recall correctly. Yeah. Okay. And the Americans will bank a second point, because basically there isn't a lot we want to do right now. That will move us to turn 3. Got some cleanup, and I'm gonna place Howe and company. There's a bit of a problem with the counter mix in this game. I think I forgot to mention this when I did setup. There aren't enough British regulars to fill the reinforcements out here. Those are those extra counters underneath are to indicate additional British regulars. So I kind of have to lose some, I think. Now, strangely, there's also a couple of extra Marines that you don't need. Maybe they're used in one of the solitaire scenarios. I'm not sure. I better go check the errata and see if something may be just wrong. Or it may be an incentive to launch an early assault and lose some units quickly. This next turn, the British rallied here, but then the artillery fire actually broke 2 of my units. I hadn't really been paying attention, but I got to mark the morale losses. They get recovered as long as the units aren't destroyed, so it's not that big a deal. However, I do have to figure out a way to lose some units, I guess. I forgot to look that up. Bringing more forces forward, still haven't started firing yet. I want to do a little bit of softening up fire with the volley fire before I start assaulting things, but oh yeah. I mean, what I can do is, you know, if I can get 2 units like this, I can have one do a volley fire, say from here, and the other one do an assault. Otherwise, I'll have to volley fire for several rounds. We finally got a fire started here, which means for the end of turn, find that in the rolls there. If I can find the end of turn. There's a sequence of play, but it's kind of weird. But yeah, it appears to be where I have it. Let's see. If applicable, roll. During the end turn, I roll 1 die for each Charleston space that has at least 1 that's not on fire. Off 5 to 6, the fire spreads. Okay. So it doesn't spread, which is a shame. And yeah, otherwise, the Americans have 1 point left. I don't really have anything I want to do with that point. You can see I moved up to the fence here and wall. So that gives me a little bit of defensive benefit if this starts to collapse. Troops moving on the board. Other than that, not a lot going on there. We got more coming in. And we're gonna have this thing, which I gotta make a check for next turn. At the beginning of the turn, it's possible that I find the right ammo from my artillery. Then it becomes more valuable to move that stuff on the board. Right now, I haven't put it on board because, well, it can't shoot. Now, as the likelihood of it being able to fire goes up, I might move it more quickly. It seems like Moulton's Hill is not a bad place for that artillery, because then I can shoot over the heads of my stuff and, again, soften up the enemy a little bit. I've been screwing up my deployment here because the Brits, I just found this, looking for the errata on the pieces. The Brits are allowed, and this is clear in the rules, as many pieces as they like in a staging area, which means they should have been moving forward far more quickly. And given that they're kind of on a time limit, this is going to significantly impact them. given that not a lot has happened, I'm actually thinking about restarting because, I mean, it's not that long a game overall. I'm trying to get the flow out right early on. You know, I screwed up in the other one too, but there I didn't catch it until somebody pointed it out to me. Here, I'm seeing this on my own at an early enough point. I don't know what we can learn about the game beyond some of the mechanisms in play with this kind of failed start. It feels like the Brits could have made a lot more motion early on. I could have, basically, I've spent a couple of extra actions moving units and getting them into position where I wouldn't have had to do that. I could basically land in my staging areas, fill those up, probably, maybe even with the turn 3 reinforcements, and then just come flooding in real hard. So rather than try to continue a defective situation, since we're not that far in, I think we can restart this. I'm going to load it up as I usually do with my missteps. There's some thoughts that I had during this little bit of play that might have some value, and maybe. And then there's also, and I won't be repeating them, but there's also simply, hey, to see some of the mechanisms before I get the real version up. I won't be, you know, posting this over on Board Game Geek or anything, but sometimes people find it interesting to see the defective stuff. All right, up it goes. To be fair, something else I wanted to say. I'm just having such a damn hard time both focusing and getting rules right, I think worse than usual, and playing and everything. And it's not the game. It's just my state is really bad again. You know, this last year has been rough with a couple of moves in play. I got another one coming up, essentially. No, I'm not leaving this place, but I gotta get the other half of my shit up here and, you know, dispose of my Phoenix place and everything. And it's just stuff I'm not, you know, that's not in my comfort zone at all. Maybe even less in my comfort zone than moving from Phoenix to here was, because at least there I knew, well, I just gotta be able to pack everything in a truck and drive. Right now there's all kind of other complexity, and it puts me in a place where I'm kind of handcuffed and unable to act in any direction.